you got what be my me. Today you got what be my me. Today you got what be my me. Today.
One big thing that we are going to do is there's changes to the Strikers Battle gear set. But before we talk about those changes, I want to know kind of what are your feelings if we look at the division today on the PvP meta?
That's quite a lead question.
It's pretty big, but
yeah. Well, in an effort to be as transparent as possible, I wish there was more diversity. I realize that our players are always going to look for the best option, and a striker with a combination of other things is very powerful. And so min-maxing is generally what people do in RPGs. So I understand why we're where we are. I wish there was more diversity, and quite frankly, I wish I could continue to work on balance for Division 1, because it's still a very heavily played game. But we do what we can.
Right. So let's get into it. What changes are you actually making to the Striker gear set in 1.8.3?
Nah, nothing. It's just a joke. We're not doing anything.
No, okay. Can I go home?
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Jokey times. Well, there's a few changes. So I think the first one has to do with EMP. So, when you're EMP'd while you're, rocking Striker, it used to just pause everything. You couldn't lose stacks, you couldn't gain stacks, you didn't get the healing or anything. Now when you're EMP'd, you will actively lose stacks with time. So yes, you'll lose stacks if you miss your target, but now you can't just keep what you had. If you're EMP'd, you'll drop stacks with time. We have also reduced the healing rate for classified strikers a smidge, so you'll get less healing when you're rocking the stacks. We've also changed stack accumulation, so now one shot equals one stack. And that counts for pellets too, shotgun pellets. So I'm sure a lot of people were interested in hearing about shotguns. It used to be that you would get 2 stacks per pellet, and so one trigger pull could net you 16 stacks. And that is no longer the case. So you'll get 1 stack per pellet, meaning a well-placed shotgun shot will give you 8 stacks. So we did that. And I think an interesting point to make is these changes are only going to take place in PvP. So in the Dark Zone, in Skirmish, and in Last Stand, the changes we just talked about will be present, but not in PvE. So it's only PvP we're doing this for. Right.
So we should have a screenshot. Do we have a screenshot at all? Okay, we're working on a screenshot. We had some technical issues here before, but we'll get a screenshot of the Striker changes into the stream as soon as we can. So generally, why are these changes being made?
Well, I think it all started with the running in place bug, right? That was nasty. Again, with transparency, right? We should have caught that sooner, and so that was our mistake. So I'm very happy that the community continued to be loud and continued to rally. And so once we cracked it back open to fix that, there was a perfect opportunity to take a look, see how much time we had, and fix some stuff that was, that we felt were, egregious. It's not necessarily the best timing, right? We're working on Tom Clancy's The Division 2, but as I mentioned, this is still a heavily played game. And so diverting some resources, taking some time, fixing the things that we didn't like, fixing the things that the community were not fond of was a good time for us.
Right, so you mentioned that Striker will work slightly differently in PvP areas such as, Last Stand, Skirmish, and of course, the Dark Zone. How come?
Good question, my man. Tom Clancy's The Division, we've had a lot of fun over the summer with 1.7, 1.8, trying different things out. Things like global events and a lot of other things under the hood, whether that's the rogue mechanic. And it's giving us a lot of opportunity to see how players respond and see whether or not we want to take changes into Division 2. And so we've heard before that people are potentially interested in having separate PvE and PvP balancing for gear sets. So why not take that opportunity to analyze how the community responds to this isolated change, if it's a positive change, if people respond well to the fact that they have different tunings for PvE and PvP, then maybe that's something we take forward into Division 2, maybe not, but this is a perfect way to test it is in this case, because I really liked how people were using Striker in the PvE content. I liked to see what people could do in the really challenging content, how they managed their heals. And so I wanted that to stay because I liked that, but we acknowledged that PvP Strikers in combination with a few other things was just too buff. So, hey, how about we split it and see what happens?
Right. So have you seen anything special when it comes to how it works with, or how it synergizes with other gear sets?
We did a lot of testing. Excuse me. Interestingly enough, a number of the other gear sets started to bubble up to the surface, like two in particular that we saw in our playtest that were very strong against Strikers with these changes. Predmark was actually very effective still. And Lone Star actually was crushing some souls. So there were some other sets when used in specific examples, more so in the Dark Zone. We did a lot of skirmish testing and some DZ testing, so it depends on what we were playing. But yeah, we did see a few other sets come back into power, and it wasn't just a guaranteed win when they went up against, somebody that was rocking, 60 or 70 stacks with Strikers. So I was very pleased.
Right. So one thing that I see popping up in chat a lot, and that very much connected with Strikers battle gear right now, is of course the Showstopper. So first of all, I just want to say that there was a bug with the Showstopper and auto aim that we have addressed in 1.8.3, but there was also one more thing that we fixed with the Showstopper related to the RPM.
Yeah, it was possible to fire faster than its maximum RPM if you timed your trigger pulls just right. And it's very impressive, in fact, that people can do that. I salute and applaud all of you. But we fixed it, so you can no longer time your trigger pulls and fire faster than its maximum RPM. So that's cool. Although, from what I understand, it will still sound like you can. But according to the super smarties and the engineers, you're not firing over the cap anymore. So we fixed it.
Right. So that's why we wanted to bring this up as well, because it will sound like it, and you will feel the rumble if you're playing with a controller, but it's not actually happening.
Yeah, it had to do with how it was all hard-coded and other businesses like that.
Yeah, exactly. So while changing Striker, there's actually one more balancing change being done, and that is to the support station master mod. What can you tell us about those changes?
Well, I'm sure some people will just yell at my face when I say this, but I wasn't a fan of what we call the drop and pop. I realize that it's a tactic, and it's a tactic that's used a lot because of survivability in PvP, and it's a great way to elongate fights and get instant heals. I didn't really like watching it, and I felt kind of dirty doing it as well. I didn't like the fact that in many cases it was possible for players to get a bigger heal from dropping and popping than using the first aid skill, because of where their skill power was. And so, I asked the designers to take a look at it. And so we didn't want to remove the functionality altogether. I like the tactic of it, just not how much heal it was giving. So I feel like you guys have discussed with the changes that were made, but I like the new combat scenarios that it started presenting players when you had to let the support station live a little bit longer before you popped it to get that max heal. So in our testing, we saw players starting to place it strategically and moving around the combat and not popping it right away, and then using some other resources to stretch out the fight, and then retreating to where they put their support station and then popping it. And that felt a lot cooler. It felt, it felt more tactical. So I like it a lot better.
Right.
Now players will have to adjust. I realize that. I've seen literally almost every streamer do the drop and pop, and of course, why not? Because it functions so well. But hopefully they'll adjust and appreciate these new tactics and scenarios that will happen.
Yeah, I can tell you straight away that chat seems a little bit divided. It's going to be interesting to hear what people have to say over the next couple of days. But yes, again, the update is coming next Thursday after maintenance, as usual. And I want to thank you very much, Terry, for coming and talking to us. It's been great.
I love you.
I love you.
It's nice to be here.
We all love you, Terry.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see everyone. I wish I had a camera. I just am looking at this giant eye, and I can't see anyone, but I'm sure you're all there, and I love you.
Someone was asking before what's actually in the mug. I mean, the mug is always there when you're here.
The mug. Yeah. I can't tell you what that. I can't tell you because I have too many secrets. You'll just have to guess. You'll have to, you'll have to just ask people what I've talked about in the past. It's a secret, and maybe it's blood. Maybe it's water. Maybe it's just the tears of the people that die in the dark zone. I don't know. I'll never tell. Maybe if we have DivCon, Petter, make this happen. DivCon, right? And then I'll tell people what I drink in this mug at DivCon.
Sure.
Okay, I want Div. Okay, cool.
I think it's blood.
Okay.
I'm just gonna assume.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
But again, thank you very much for coming today and talking about the changes coming to Striker and the Master Mod for the Sports Station. It's been fantastic. I hope you give all our love to the team at Red Storm and to Keith, who's usually with you. We miss you, Keith, a lot.
Yeah, I'll give him the love. I'll give him a big fat hug.
You should.
And it was my pleasure to come on. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Terry. All right. So yeah, that's the big news of the week is that the update is coming. Terry just talked about the Striker changes. Do we have a screenshot? Yeah. I saw Sir Grumps a lot before in chat saying we already had it because there might have been a mistake made before stream that the screenshot turned up. Good catch, Grumps.
Wait, it'll be ugly, but you'll get it, okay?
It'll be ugly, but you'll get it. Okay, that's fair.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's in my Striker. Striker changes in my face right now.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can do.
Terry is still in the chair and he's smirking right now. I see you, Terry. I see you. All right, screenshot.
Yeah. On Petter's head. I'm sorry.